Hey everyone, welcome back to Unbiased Magic Reviews. I'm glad you're here. Today I have a magic app review for you. You guys know I like magic apps. Today we're taking a look at AnyWeb 2 by Magic Pro Ideas and Javier Franco. Now you can pick up this magic app for $40 and it is supported on both iOS and Android devices. It accommodates up to 40 different languages. Now I'm going to try to give you guys a good idea of what you can do with this app. I'm going to do a comparison of this with the original AnyWeb app that you may remember I did a review on last year. And then I'm going to give you guys my impressions and answer those questions that you have. I'm going to show you how I use it in my own presentation and show you how easy it is to perform. Give you guys my rating and then give you a couple of other alternatives of other magic apps you may want to take a look at. So hopefully by the end of this review you have a good idea of what this is. I'm going to try to keep it short because I could be here for 20 minutes talking about this easily. So what is AnyWeb 2? Basically this is a forcing app that will allow you to force any one of 9 different images of something that someone searches for on Google. That's basically what it is in a nutshell. Now, you may remember last year I did a review on the original AnyWeb, and I've seen some magic reviews out there that say that this is totally different from the original version. That's actually wrong because this is only a little bit different than the original version. The original version, you again were forcing an image from practically any website, but it was on your phone. So the person was doing a search on either Amazon, Instagram, Google, whatever you wanted, and you were forcing it. And the actual process of them doing the selection was exactly the same too. That original version was marketed more as a prediction type effect. Now what basically these guys have done is they took that idea and they've made it a lot more portable. So now you're borrowing a spectator's phone, you're taking them to Google, you're doing a search, and again, they're going through the same selection procedure, and then you can either read their mind in real time, you can predict it. I like to perform it as a type of drawing duplication almost. I think that's the strongest way to perform it. So that's basically the similarities and differences. It's even the same price as the original version, so that's something you may find interesting. So what are my impressions of this app? I really like it, and I'll tell you guys the main reasons why. One, I really like how portable it is because you don't have to have anything on you. I really like how easy it is to perform. I like that it's instantly repeatable. Those are the things that I like the most about it. And I also like how you have one of 9 different forces. So that gives you a lot of leeway to allow the spectator to make a decision. So it feels like they're the ones that are making all the decisions. That way it doesn't feel like a force. That's the problem with whenever you do a force, is that it has to feel like it's free will. Otherwise, it's gonna come off really bad. So some questions you guys probably have about this app. You're probably wondering how much setup is involved. You do have to download an app to your own phone, and that's because that will allow you to customize the 9 different images that you're going to force. You're going to get a 15-minute instructional video, and by the end of that you're going to see how easy this is to perform and how easy it is to customize. You don't have to have any kind of cloud storage space for images. You can just search for the images that you want to force, and then you just tell the app what images those are, and that's pretty much it. In terms of repeatability, as I mentioned, you can repeat it as many times as you want with the same search, or you could go back and do a totally different search again. So I really like that about it. How inspectable is it? I've never had any issues with the person saying anything after the effect, although I will mention that if they do look through their history on their phone, they'll see that the URL is actually not Google, it's something different. But I've never had anybody do that before, so I've never had any issues with that. You may be wondering how much memory is involved. There's literally no memory involved. It's very easy to remember the URL of where you have to take them to. So that's not a big issue. This is something that you cannot perform over Zoom because you do have to handle their phone, so it has to be performed live, and it is best performed as a completely impromptu, off-the-cuff effect. Like you're with some people that ask you, hey, show me something, and you're like, okay, take out your phone, let me show you something. Let's try something with your phone. You see what I mean? So then it feels totally off the cuff and impromptu, and that's what I think makes this so strong. So let me show you how easy this is to perform, because I would consider this to be beginner level. You basically ask the person to take out their phone, you tell them to go to their browser. Okay, so here's the browser. And I say to the person, so here's my first question for you. Do you know what is the website what website do people go to more than any other website in the world? And they'll probably just say Google. If they don't, you tell them, actually, the website that people most commonly go to is Google. You know, and so obviously you've just gone to Google, and you say to them, okay, next question. This is going to be a more difficult question. What do you think is the most common search on Google? Like, what category do you think people search for most commonly? And what's lovely here is because you have 9 different forces, there's a lot of leeway here. Most of the answers I get most commonly, believe it or not, is movies or celebrities. That's the most common. But sometimes I get TV shows, countries, foods. I get foods a lot in cars, football teams. So I've got my 9 forces based on what I get most commonly, but you can, customize that to whatever you want. Now, once in a while, somebody will say something that is not part of my 9 forces, and so then I'll say to them, no, actually, that's not the most commonly searched for thing. Actually, the most commonly searched for thing is like movies, believe it or not. So let's say, for instance, that they said foods, because that's actually number 6 in my forces. And so if they say foods, I'll say to the person like, oh, okay. So let's see. We're going to do a search here for foods, and so I've already gone to what I need to, and I'm going to search here for foods. Put in foods, and they can see that, and I click return. And I say, let's take a look at those images. So now they see the different images, and I can explain to them that, look, we got a bunch of different images here of foods. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to hand you the phone. I want you to just hold it down so that way you're not looking at any of the images, so that way you're not influenced. I want you to just scroll, and wherever you want, you just press to just stop somewhere randomly. Another way that I've also done is I tell them just to hold the phone and look at it and just focus on me as they scroll and just tap somewhere. So you have them scroll, they're going to tap somewhere, right? Sometimes the person doesn't tap hard enough and it doesn't load, okay? Now my forced food is going to be lasagna. And what I like to do is after they look at it, I'll have them mentally send it to me, and I'll do a drawing of what I'm getting, which is going to be lasagna, right? So that's basically how I like to do the effect. Now let's see if I pressed hard enough. Oh, look, I did press hard. I barely touched it because I wanted to see if it didn't load. Because if it doesn't load, I just tell them to put it face down and do it again, right? Now, take a look at how easy this is to repeat. So after the effect's over, sometimes the person will say something, and I'll be like, oh, you want to try again? You want to try again with, like, for instance, like you can see there's all these totally random different foods here. If you want, we can try again. You want to try again? Here, take the phone, scroll again, and just tap somewhere, right? So there, they just tap again. Now, this image is going to be a kiwi, and you can see that was an instantaneous choice. So I just chose what I wanted to force, and it should be 3 kiwis actually. So here you can see it's 3 kiwis. So you can see I could continue to do this over and over again to do more forces, or I could go back and we can go and do a totally different force. So you can see how easy this is to perform, and it's with the spectator's phone. So it really is totally fun to do and really easy. So that's pretty much what you can expect here. Let's go over what I think are like the advantages and disadvantages of this. So the real advantages, as I mentioned, is that it's impromptu, customizable, repeatable, it's quick, supports many languages. It's something that you can fall back on whenever you need to do something off the cuff. So that's really all the benefits of it. What are the negatives? The real negatives are that 1, you need to have the internet. 2, I guess the negative is that you have to touch their phone. A third negative is probably just the process of scrolling and touching. You may not like that. And at the end here, I'm going to go over some other alternative phone effects that you don't actually have to do that same process, but look similar, okay? So those are really the pluses and the negatives about this effect. And I guess the other real big negative effect is, like I said, that if the person goes and looks in their history, they're going to see that you didn't take them to Google. But the likelihood of that is very low. I haven't had any issues with that. So let's go over the rating of this Magic app. So for originality, I rated this as 2.5, which is like a half score. And the reason is because it's not original at all. This type of forcing idea is, I mean, even there was AnyWeb 1. So this is just an improvement really on the original AnyWeb because they've made it more portable. So it's not very original. And there's a lot of other Magic apps out there that do similar things where people search for something and you're forcing it on them. Like for instance, you know, like Hydra, for instance, and Social Assistant, and there's a lot of other apps out there that do the same exact kind of thing. So it's not very original. Originality, I gave it 2.5. Creativity, I gave it a 3, and the reason is because I liked the little things they built in that help you so you don't mess up. I liked how creative it was that you can do an on-the-fly repeat with a totally new image that it's on-the-fly impromptu. I thought that was very creative. So creativity-wise, I give it a 3 out of 5. In terms of practicality, it's definitely 5 out of 5. It's like the most practical phone app effect out there because you don't have to have the phone with you. It's super easy to perform, very, very practical. In terms of how easy it is to set up and use, also I gave that a 5 because you will have it set up on your phone in 5 minutes. So there's no learning curve here to learn how to use this. You could learn how to use this in 10 minutes. So I gave it 5 out of 5 for that category. For audience reaction, I gave it 4 out of 5. And the reason is because some of the people I performed it for over the past 2 months, they didn't react as strongly as I expected them to. And I think it's because, you know, it's using a phone. And I think most of the reason is because I got this comment from people. Oh, you saw it. That's what I got them saying to me. Just because I touched their phone, they had the impression that somehow I saw what they chose somehow. So I give it 4 out of 5 for audience reactions. And then finally, the last category is price. For price, I give it 3 out of 5. And the reason is because I thought it was a little expensive for what you're getting. So I give it 3 out of 5 for price. It's a fair price, but it's still a little bit on the pricey side. So the final rating for this Magic app is actually 3.75. So 3.75, so it's a favorable buy. I think it's a good buy. I definitely would recommend it to you guys because I've had a lot of fun with it and I think it's really easy to use and I think you're gonna get a lot of bang for your buck. So I like it a lot. Now let's go over a couple of other alternative magic effects you may wanna take a look at. So I already mentioned the Social Assistant, which it was put out by Calyx, and this was put out a couple of years ago, but basically it was a very similar type of forcing app where the person on their phone would go to Instagram and you would direct them to Instagram and they would do the same thing where they would scroll and then they would, you know, they would scroll to make a selection. Now the really big difference though with the Social Assistant, which is why you may like it, is because the Social Assistant, they would just scroll and then when the scroll stopped, that was the force item. So they didn't have to scroll like this. They could actually look at it. You could tell them to scroll real hard and where it stopped was the selection. And so it looked really fair. The force looked very, very fair. I thought it was very clever and that was called Social Assistant. I do use that still all the time. And if there's interest, I'll do a review on that as well. Finally, one other product that I will recommend to you guys to take a look at that you may like is called Photo Mind. And now I don't know if I want to pronounce this guy's name correctly. It was put out by Gustavo Vierini. And Photo Mind, this is actually a method more than anything else. What I really liked about it was that you ask the spectator to take out their phone, you tell them to open up their Instagram, and you tell them to scroll through it until they see an image that they like. And so you haven't touched their phone at all, which is like really amazing there. And basically from there, you're going to have them show it to another person, and then they're going to put the phone away, and in continuation, they hand you the phone after they've cleared everything out, and you go through the images and you you get an impression of what they were concentrating on, and the image that you find is the one that they're thinking of. What I really liked about it was that, one, the method is super simple, super low tech, very easy to do, very sneaky, right under the nose of the spectator, and you don't have to have any apps at all. It's really just a method, and I remember it was like $20, so it's really a good price for what you're getting. The actual method is actually really simple, but it's very, very devastating and very powerful, and I've performed it a bunch of times and had really good reactions with it, and it's because they're never going to have any impression of you really touching their phone. They're gonna feel like they had total control over their phone, which is really great, and it's because of the structure of the routine that's so well done that the spectator, when they go back and think about it, they will have no clue how you possibly could have known that. So anyway, those are some products for you guys to take a look at. That's pretty much all I have to say about this. Finally, I would just say that if you are interested in this kind of forcing app, then I definitely would recommend it. I really like it a lot, and I've had good reactions with it. As usual, if you guys have any questions about this or anything else I review, just leave me a comment below. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning into my magic reviews, and I'll see you on the next review.